Hi, I'm Peter Birch. This week we've travelled all the way to the New South Wales Blue Mountains to look at these rock escarpments, better known as the Three Sisters. And this week's featured guest is Neville Burns, a true snakeman. Just like the mountains behind us, he's been around for millions of years. Welcome to CritterCam. Blue Mountains get their characteristic blue haze from the mixing of sunlight with drops of oil released by the eucalypts that blanket the region's vast tablelands and valleys. We're lucky enough today to get to see Neville Burns, one of Australia's premium elapid handlers, with some of his most unique, beautiful creatures. Let's check him out. Nev, how are you, mate?
I'm well, Peter.
Ooh. This week's question of the week. What rank does the eastern brown snake hold on the scale of Australian venomous snakes? Is it third, second, or first? Please leave a comment below. Okay, Nev, can you tell us a bit about this particular animal?
Okay, well, he's been raised in captivity, but because I have enough to keep animals to a minimum use, he's always retained a fairly typical brown snake attitude, Pete, but he's not as bad as one straight out of the wild, but still typical brown snake, very nervous animal. I don't like the word aggressive. I don't think they're an aggressive animal at all. I think they're just very quick to defend themselves. And I don't believe that you can deny the animal the right to do that.
No, definitely. And I mean, knowing brown snakes, you know, they are quite a visual animal. I mean, just any movement, just
Absolutely.
like that, you know, really gets them on top of their game.
And it's fear. It's not aggression.
No.
You know, I mean, look at the size
right.
of you and I compared to him.
Yeah.
And he's saying, you know, I'm scared. Because, I mean, they live in the wild. I mean, anything bigger than them is probably a predator.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, everyone takes this as an aggressive thing. They open their mouth, they lunge at you, they spread their neck. But like you said, the reality is this thing is protecting itself.
Absolutely, and I mean 90% of it is bluff. 90% of it is bluff, even with browns.
So while he's sitting there and he's sort of rearing up a bit, can you talk us through a bit about the venom?
Okay, well, brown snakes, by an LD50 test, which is how they measure the toxicity, as you'll know, Pete, they're number 2 in the world.
Yeah.
And they are our greatest killer because they're very widely spread. In areas, I've noticed tiger snakes, for example, have decreased in numbers. Brown snakes seem to be holding their own. And they do tend to come into rural areas like this because of rats and mice around properties. But they're an animal that uses their venom to kill their prey. I mean, self-defense is a secondary thing with them. With humans, it always affects the blood.
Yep.
Always shows in the blood. These guys really do a great job of destroying the blood. I know with my bite, at one stage I was vomiting blood and my white blood cell count got as high as 2.5 times normal because of the destruction of red blood cells.
That's one of the key things I've always heard about the venom actually affects the blood cells, splitting them apart. And most people end up dying because of renal failure.
Exactly.
The kidneys pack it in.
Yeah, they're a snake that really are very effective at defending themselves. But he doesn't really want to bite.
No, he's feeling particularly...
he's posturing. He's saying, leave me alone.
Yep.
But I mean, if you and I were to walk away from it to a point where we were no longer a threat, he's just going to head off into the bush and look after himself.
Yes, definitely. All right, Nev, talk us through this beautiful black snake. And I mean, we were speaking earlier about not free handling the other snake, but tell me the reason why we can quite easily free handle this particular animal.
Well, he will bite people, but black snakes are a very, very placid snake overall. You compare them with a brown or a tiger like that, they're very placid. They have never killed anybody on record that we're aware of. They've had a bad name that they simply don't deserve. And this guy's been in captivity now for about 11 years. He's, I believe when my mate got him before he passed on to me, that it was about probably just on a metre long. He's about 1.6 metres now. The thing that's impressive about him is his girth. He weighs about 1.7 kilos.
Well, he's definitely a thumper for a
Oh
black
yeah,
snake.
he's a beautiful snake, but as you can see, he's got no inclination to bite unless he has to defend himself. We're not doing anything to offend him. Touching him like that doesn't worry him. And you know, despite the fact that I lost a finger to one, I consider these one of the most beautiful of all our venomous snakes. I mean, the colour's striking. They've got that beautiful red, they've got that shiny black. They're just a magnificent looking animal.
I mean, they're definitely one of Australia's most standout snakes because of that red belly and the beautiful dark.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, and you spoke before about losing a finger to a black snake. Show us and talk to us a little bit about that and how that sort of really felt.
Okay, it was only an average sized blake, nowhere near as big as Joe here, but probably about 1.3 metres, something like that. And it had a little bit of bark chip embedded in its gum. And I was taking that out, and I still to this day, I didn't have my mind on what I was doing. I was just about to go on a trip, and we were all planning to go away that night. And I wasn't concentrating, and you just can't afford to do that. It twisted and got me on the index finger. So I went down to the hospital, and the pain was pretty bad. It was the most painful bite I'd ever had, a local pain. But then I showed a chest rash, which indicated a skin level reaction to the actual venom. So that wasn't good. But what cost me the finger was the fact that they do have a draconic effect in their venom. All members of the black snake family. One guy lost his arm entirely to a mulga snake.
Wow.
And
That's pretty extreme.
yeah, it was multiple bites, and he was alcoholically affected at the time. You know, he was a drunk, so you know he really got his just desserts with that one. But with me, it deteriorated. I was in there for 3 days. They sent me home. I went back 3 days later. At their request to have a look at it, and dry gangrene was set in. And over the next few weeks, the whole finger fell apart, and they took it off. So.
Wow.
But I don't blame the snake for that. I mean, I choose to work with snakes. I know there is a consequence if you're bitten. But these guys live around people's houses. They go in the garden. They don't want to hurt anybody.
This week's question of the week. What rank does the eastern brown snake hold on the scale of Australian venomous snakes? If you answered B, second, you are correct. Good job. Well, just seeing your passion with these beautiful elapids, I can tell you now, it is absolutely spectacular. And you've written a book recently too about some of the stories about your life.
Yeah, I think I underestimated the power of the stories, Peter, because it's got rave reviews from everyone who's bought it. I'm very flattered that people like Hal Cotter, Rick Shine, you know, they all want a copy. And it's just an Australian adventure yarn. And someone said to me it's got a broader appeal than just herpetologists, because, you know, it's the people you met, the places you went, the things you did, silly things you did.
Yeah.
And my mother said it was a long time coming, but at least I finally got it done.
And it also captures your spirit as a larrikin as well.
Oh, yeah, well, you know, I mean, life's made to be fun, isn't it?
Definitely. I'll just want to say thanks very much for showing us today these
My
beautiful
pleasure,
animals
Peter.
and showing us around. Don't be afraid to leave a comment below. Hit us up on Facebook and Twitter. You've been watching Critter Cam.